All right, what's up, collectors? It's John here, and I'm going to be talking about the current landscape of TCGs, sports cards, and what you should expect as a collector, and what to do going forward to ensure you get the best experience in collecting.
I consider experience.
So as you guys may know, collecting has always kind of been a niche hobby. You know, all the way back to the 50s when the first cards came out, first official top sets. We had cards prior to that as well, but for the most part, it's been a niche hobby. There was a huge boom during the 80s and 90s, and that's what we refer to as the junk wax era.
It's called junk wax.
Cards were overprinted, and to this day, those cards really don't carry much value unless they're graded or one of the more rare inserts. If you guys want to learn about those, we'll have another video linked up here in the future. You guys can kind of learn about the 80s and 90s cards and what to look for, what not to look for, and what to expect out of that. So what happened? Well, basically, people were stuck at home. As you guys may know, we had a pandemic in the country and across the world. People were at home looking for something to do, and also people in their 30s and 40s who have adult money or even older now had kids who were also home looking for something to do. And what did they do? They got into collecting because something they did as a kid. Most of the parents now were kids in the 80s and 90s, and during that era we had the junk wax era. Back to our topic. So during COVID, for the most part, people were at home, so we were getting stimulus money. There wasn't really much to do. You were locked down for 6 months, almost to a year, depending on where you lived in the country, and you wanted something to do. So what happened is, social media took form, collecting took form. You had the rookie craze of Zion Williamson, other rookies like Luka Doncic making a splash in the NBA, LeBron James on a new team.
LeBron James.
Yes.
And if you go to Pokemon, you had Logan Paul pushing the market. Magic the Gathering, you had people, diving more into online, trying to get into a fun side competition hobby that they could then enjoy. What happened is those increased the price because people wanted those cards, as well as people had a little bit of extra money here and there to support their hobbies. So if you look at that and you turn that into today's landscape, where are we now? So where we're at now is cards, for the most part, are at a higher premium than they were pre-boom. So we call it kind of the second coming or the second boom, right? So 2020 onwards, almost to about 2022, mid 2022. And then we saw a decent decline, and pretty fast decline, in TCG, sports cards, and other memorabilia and collecting prices. But it doesn't mean that we're in a bad spot. All it means is now we have to be smarter.
I am too smart. I am too smart.
So you can no longer just take a rookie card of Zion Williamson for like 30 bucks that I was trading for, send it to PSA for $7 in bulk, get a 10, and then sell it for $800 to $1,000, what they were going for at some point in time. Now, you do more realistic with your collecting, and here's what we should do as collectors. So first, let's cover TCGs. So as you guys may know, we had Logan Paul sell multiple millions of dollars worth of cards, buy multiple $1 million worth of cards, and that kind of he was kind of the figurehead of the TCG marketplace during COVID. We have other famous celebrities as well getting involved, but Logan Paul was more notable for the TCGs. Now, as you guys can see, some of those base prices of the base set or first edition were in the tens of thousands of dollars just for the raw versions of the card during the COVID and pandemic pricing, or the boom pricing. Now, as you guys can see, current market value is posted here, they are much less than that. First, let's take this first edition Fossil Zapdos. This card was going for this price then, and this price now. So, with that being said, what do you do as a collector in the TCG landscape to help that out? Same with Magic the Gathering cards. You had this price then for cards like Mana Crypt, and this price now. Now, albeit this price is probably gonna drop because they just banned Mana Crypt yesterday. So, anyways, I'll do a different topic. So, if you guys are looking at the TCG landscape and TCG marketplace, it's kind of always been honed in on collector first, Magic more so player-based, Pokemon collector-based. Now, the playability of Pokemon has increased over the years. We've seen, growth in our own store here. We've added a whole extra section. Went from 4 players to about 20 on the average week. Magic has seen a huge boom as well, and now especially too that people are going out more in public. The Magic community is growing very fast, and that's a marketplace that you definitely want to get on if you're a store owner, or if you are into building decks and playing. Definitely look at the Magic the Gathering scene. It is insane right now, but the card prices aren't what they were, but they're stronger than what they were, if that makes sense. So what I'm saying is they're stronger than they were before pre-pandemic, but they're not as strong as they are during that boom time. So what you should do for Pokemon, collect what you love. right? You can still chase the big cards, you can chase the first edition, you can chase the fossils, you can chase the rocket, you can chase the alt arts, whatever you guys want to do. You've seen like cards like the Umbreon really never lose steam. Umbreon VMAX, alt art from Evolving Skies, never really lost that allure. It would go up, go down, and then now it's kind of keeps just kind of steadily going up and then leveling off and going up, leveling off. That card's iconic. Other cards like Charizard, you'll see the prices on release day skyrocket and then fall. But if you look throughout Pokemon history, we can see that buying and holding the singles is one of the best things you can do from a collecting and investment standpoint in the TCG marketplace. What I'm meaning by that is whether it's sealed, whether it's singles, graded, complete sets, whatever you guys are into, it's much easier in Pokemon than it is in other TCGs to collect the cards, grade the cards, and complete your sets. So my recommendation for you is if you're into Pokemon and you are a collector, I would first go after the singles that you love the most, regardless of their price. Buy what you love. That's what collecting is as a whole, is buying what you love, holding on to it, and having something to appreciate.
I love it.
Second thing I would do is invest in sets. Invest in your complete sets, have those complete sets, and the third thing I would invest in is going to be your graded cards / your sealed. If we look back at eras and we look at sets like Steam Siege, the most expensive card out of Steam Siege I believe is like $57. The booster boxes sell for $300. So there really isn't a right or wrong answer in the sealed market. Yes, we have seen an increase in printing in Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, and we have yet to see what that does long term. But if we look back now at the Sword and the Shield prices, sets like Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, Lost Origin, Astral Radiance, all those boxes are carrying a premium currently. So with that premium, it's safe to say that you don't want to buy cases upon cases upon cases because your average increase in pricing isn't going to be that astronomical. However, holding an ETB, holding a booster box, holding a case of either one is a great long-term hold for you to hold on to either 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line. It's a tried and true test. Now for Magic the Gathering, it's always been about the playable cards. Now Magic has been reprinting a lot of them.
I'm very disappointed in these reprints.
So what do we do with that? You pretty much have to just kind of see what people are playing, and also for your short-term game, watch the pro players. What I mean by that is if you're watching the pro scene and they always kind of introduce a new meta or a new tactic. Obviously we had Nardu most recently and he's now banned, but there was cards that were in that deck that didn't see much playability that went from 10 cents to $1 a piece. And if you can buy a couple hundred copies, you can make out pretty good. Use that money to buy cards that you love. But for the most part, Magic is a player's game. It is a collecting side. You have your older cards, your better sets, your newer alternate arts, as you guys can see here. However, Magic is a player's game. And with that means buy what you want to play with, buy the artwork that you also like, but also focus, if you're looking at an investment or a flipper standpoint, is buy the cards that are going to see playability, you think are going to see playability, or who have seen playability. What I mean by that is just pay attention to what other players are doing, watch some streams, watch your local LCS. What people are doing in the game is going to be your best bet for your short-term flips. So now on to the big horse in the marketplace, and that's going to be sports cards. As you guys may know, we discussed prior in the video, sports cards are pretty insane as far as some of the prices you can get and also the fluctuation in pricing. I mean, you have players like Trey Lance, hot off the press. Everyone's looking for him in 2021, 2022 when the cards are printing, and now he's the backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Other notable players that maybe didn't, see immediate attention were players like, say, Patrick Mahomes or Giannis Antetokounmpo in 2013 and 2017. Now those cards are decent value because they're great players. So what do we do now with the sports card marketplace, the changing in tide from different manufacturers, different licensing, autograph cards, not autograph cards. For instance, right now, CJ Stroud, you can buy an official Panini card of his or chase an official Panini card of his. It's going to have a logo, it's going to have his team logo, but there's going to be no autographs. His autographs are in Topps. Topps came out with composite. However, it's not licensed cards. So people have different feelings and different opinions on what that means for their value, what that means for the player, and what that means for the market as a whole. Now, as we know, Fanatics, through its arrangements with the Players Associations and the leagues, is going to have basketball at the end of 2025 and football at the start of 2026. So then they will have the official licensing, and also they will have the cards available for us to purchase. But what do we do right now? What do we chase, and how do you guys want to see the marketplace? Because honestly, some people are getting priced out. As a store owner, I see it all the time. You know, some people are like, man, I really wish I could open, you know, this set this year or that set this year. It's just too expensive for me. So what do we do as collectors, and what do you do as a collector or potential investor to make sure you're making the best decision? And honestly, that changes on a case-by-case basis. My biggest suggestion to people when they ask, like, what should I be buying? Honestly, buy what you love. Buy the players you like, buy the teams you like, buy the sets you like. And that's gonna be my answer for most things. It is a hobby at its whole. However, yes, there is a lot of money involved. And I make money by selling, flipping, breaking, almost everything involved inside of TCG and sports cards. That's how I make my living. But I understand that I'm serving a passion of people's, and we have to appreciate that across the board. So if you feel like you're being priced out, there's 3 things you can do. First thing, just buy the players you like, irregardless of the set. The second thing is wait for the sets to have been out for about 45 to 60 days. You'll see the singles prices decline a little bit unless the player kind of has a resurgence or he's about to win an award. What I mean by that is, for instance, you take a set like Topps Chrome, right? The base autos of Ellie De La Cruz, Jackson Holiday, Evan Carter, their prices were, say, here when the set came out. Maybe a week afterwards, they climbed up a little bit, but now they kind of evened off. Holiday's card saw a bump, but he's kind of evened off or have lowered. So my suggestion is if you're chasing a player like Ellie De La Cruz, either from a fan's perspective or an investment perspective, to buy the single and you don't have the money right now, just wait.
Wait for it.
Just wait a little bit. You'll be able to most likely buy the card either in that 45 to 90 day window afterwards or after the season before the spike of the preseason hype goes up. Keep in mind, sports cards, pretty much if the player's doing well, cards go up. If it's right before the season, the cards are at its high unless they're doing crazier in the playoffs. Same thing for basketball, football. Basketball right now is not a good time necessarily to buy cards because everyone's kind of hyping up what's this player going to do this season. But if you think a player is going to do well and they're not on anyone's radar, they're a good purchase. Second thing, let's get to the nitty gritty of the hobby, and let's go into boxes. So boxes have a different experience and different connotations to most people. Some of the old school collectors are singles only. Some of the new school collectors only believe in opening, trying for the rip, trying for the hype. As someone who sells boxes and singles for a living and does box breaks, in a sense, yes, it is the G word. It is a game of chance. And you know, it's whether you believe it or not, there is a lot of, you know, luck and randomization involved in opening boxes. However, yes, you can turn your $60 box into a couple $100 or even a couple $1,000, and in some cases, a couple $100,000, depending on if you hit the right card in the right set at the right time. But with that being said, you have to look at how you want to enjoy the hobby and analyze that in comparison to the box prices, singles prices, and your collection. What I mean by that is maybe you're a collector who has between $100 and $300 to spend a month. Maybe that's, I'm gonna buy a couple singles, I'll open a couple boxes here and there and chase the cards, and you get that little bit of a thrill, that little bit of a, you know, adrenaline, a dopamine rush from opening, hitting the cards you want, and then going from there. But if that's not for you, that's okay. Go ahead, buy the singles, you know, buy your sets, do what you want to do, you know, buy the raw cards, get them graded, and that's perfectly fine, and that's a great way to enjoy the hobby. And in this third realm, we have the grading / the investment scene. What I mean by that is there's some high-end buyers, and if you're one of those buyers, your pre-collection is probably insane. You'll see some huge fluctuations, and people in that space, or if you're wanting to get into that space, it's all about knowing the market price, historical trends, as well as it's a little bit of speculation where you think the player is going to get going. If you're in a TCG sense, obviously a player can't, you know, a Magic or a Pokemon character can't really commit a crime or get injured. But in sports, you always have that risk of, you know, is the player going to get hurt? Now, you're certain players like Patrick Mahomes who kind of locked in step. Like he's, you know, right now, maybe top 5 of all time. He's a great player. But other players like a Ja Morant or Luka Doncic, Great players, Jai a little bit of trouble. Luka hasn't really won anything. So what do you do with those guys? Or newest case, Victor Wembanyama. Everyone's hyped for him. We have the Mercury boxes coming out in like a week or so. Those are expensive off the gate. Guaranteed autographs. Again, Panini has the license to the jerseys. Fanatics Topps has the license to the autographs. What do you do? What's the value? That's up to you to decide. And those definitely have to be more educated decisions and what you think the player's going to do. Victor had a great rookie season. I'm a believer in Victor. I think long-term his values are going to be really good. But you have to decide what you want to do. And also, for a grading perspective, and this is a general answer to grading cards, my suggestion to everybody is if the card doesn't come back at 10 and you're looking to sell it, if it doesn't sell for double of what the card's worth, I wouldn't grade it. What I mean by that is do not grade a $25 card if there are questions on whether it is going to be a 10. Now, different people have different opinions. If you guys bring them into my store or ship them to us for grading, we give you our opinion. We don't have any guarantees. We give our opinion. Hey, I think this is going to get this. But if you're sending in, say, a silver Jahmyr Gibbs select card, and you're hoping to make money off of it by getting it graded, and there's some questions on its centering or its corners or its edges, I would not send that card in, because if the card is raw for $30, the grading fee is $24. At that point, a 9 currently in the marketplace, even though it's mint, is only selling for the same values as the raw cards in most cases. So with that being said, it's really not worth getting it graded. Now, where you want to get the cards graded is when you start to see that $75 to $100 sticker price on the raw card. If you're sending that card in for $24, $25, or in a bulk submission if you have your own account, that's a great way to kind of take that $100 card and go into like a $300 or $400 card. For instance, let's take this Victor Wembanyama pink cracked ice from Prism. The PSA 9 goes for about $200. The raw card is in that $170, $200 range, but the PSA 10s go for $400. So that's one of those cards you spend the $24 to get it graded, you get it back, and you have a good flip on your hands. But in those scenarios, you're having to make the educated decision of what's the condition, learn your condition, learn centering, learn edges, learn corners, learn surface, learn all that stuff, do some videos, and we're gonna make another video here. Once that video is available, it'll be linked up here. You guys can go ahead and click on that video and learn about how to condition your cards and how to properly assess them to get graded. So that being said, guys, that's kind of my thoughts here. You might see some other clips in me a different shirt, just kind of watching this video back and deciding to interject or add thoughts in. But that's definitely where we're at in the current marketplace. My biggest suggestion, like I said, is just buy what you love, collect what you love, and then if you're looking to make money on it or use it as an investment portfolio, make those educated decisions. Don't gamble with the investment side, only gamble inside of the boxes and the maybe prospecting. If you're investing, invest in the tried and true players, invest in Brady, invest in someone who's done something already. Because if you're quote unquote investing in a player who looks to be maybe doing something, there's a chance that they don't turn out to be that player, and then all you did was kind of gamble and invest. But you're tried and true, your Jordans, your Mantles, your Wagners, your Mahomes, your Bradys, your Durants, Jordan, LeBron, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Lionel Messi. All those guys are great players to buy right now and good long-term holds.